The night the city went quiet, Ryan sat alone in his car, parked under a flickering streetlight on East Mercer Avenue. Neon signs buzzed above closed storefronts. A pizza shop across the street smelled like grease and burnt dough, the kind of place couples used to visit late at night when they were still pretending things were fine. Ryan checked his phone for the 10th time in 2 minutes. Nothing. No missed calls. No texts. No angry messages. That silence felt louder than any argument they had ever had. He leaned back, rubbing his face, remembering how this street used to feel different. Back then, he and Claire would walk here with paper cups of black coffee, laughing about nothing, sharing fries they couldn't afford, talking about a future they thought was guaranteed. That version of life felt like it belonged to someone else now. Ryan didn't realize it yet, but this was the last calm moment he would have for a long time, because when a woman leaves without a fight, she's already gone. Hours earlier, the argument had started over something small. It always did. A missed dinner? A broken promise. A sentence Ryan didn't think before saying. "You always say tomorrow," Claire had said, her voice steady, almost tired. "And tomorrow never comes." Ryan had shrugged, irritated. "You're making a big deal out of nothing." That was his mistake. Not the first one. Just the final one. Claire didn't yell. She didn't cry. She didn't slam doors. She walked into the bedroom, packed a single suitcase, and left the apartment that still smelled like the cheeseburgers they ate on Sundays. The door closed softly behind her. Like she didn't want to disturb the life she was walking away from, Ryan assumed she'd cool off. She always did. Except this time. She didn't now, sitting alone in his car. Ryan replayed that moment over and over, trying to find where things went wrong. The city outside kept moving. A bus passed. A couple laughed as they crossed the street. Somewhere, life continued without him. That realization scared him more than losing her. Ryan had always believed he was in control. Control of his job. Control of his time. Control of the relationship. He worked long hours at a marketing firm downtown, chasing promotions, chasing recognition, chasing the version of himself he thought would finally be enough. Claire believed in him long before anyone else did. She believed when he borrowed money for rent, when his business ideas failed, when his pride was louder than his results. She stood by him during nights of cheap takeout and unpaid bills, reminding him that loyalty mattered more than money, and Ryan rewarded that loyalty with neglect. A notification buzzed on his phone. His heart jumped. It wasn't her. It was a reminder from his bank app about an overdraft fee. Ryan laughed once, bitterly. The sound felt wrong in his throat. He told himself she'd come back. She always did. He convinced himself this was just another test of patience. Another moment he could ignore until it fixed itself. But deep down, something felt different. There was a crack in the certainty he'd always carried. Flashbacks came fast now. Claire sitting on the edge of the bed, asking him to talk. Claire waiting by the window when he came home late. Claire asking if he still loved her, not accusing, just asking. He never answered properly. Ryan started the engine, but didn't drive. He just sat there, staring at the windshield, watching reflections of passing headlights blur into lines of light. For the first time, a thought crept in that made his chest tighten. What if she doesn't come back? That question stayed with him all night, across town. In a small apartment near the river, Claire folded her clothes into a drawer that wasn't his. She didn't cry either. Her eyes were dry, her movements calm, but her hands shook just enough to betray the weight of her decision. She wasn't leaving to hurt him. She was leaving to save herself. Neither of them knew it yet. But this was the beginning of a long lesson about pride, loss, and consequences. A lesson Ryan would one day think he had turned into victory. A lesson that would cost him far more than love. And when the truth finally came out, the story wouldn't belong to the man who thought he had won. It would belong to the woman who walked away the first week without Claire felt like a break. The second week felt like punishment. Ryan told himself the quiet was temporary. He filled the apartment with noise sports talk radio in the mornings, old crime shows at night, takeout containers stacked on the counter like proof that he was doing just fine alone. On the surface, nothing had changed. He still went to work downtown, still wore pressed shirts, still shook hands in conference rooms that smelled like burnt coffee and ambition. But something was off. No one asked how his day went anymore. No one reminded him to eat. No one cared whether he came home early or not. The silence didn't attack him all at once. It crept in slowly, like water seeping through a crack in concrete. At work, Ryan started staying later. Not because he had to, but because the idea of going home to that empty apartment made his chest tighten. He threw himself into projects, volunteered for extra campaigns, pitched ideas with an edge that made his coworkers step back. His boss noticed. Compliments came. So did responsibility. Success started showing up right on schedule, the kind of success he always believed would fix everything. One night after a 12-hour shift, Ryan stopped at a diner near the office. Vinyl booths, fluorescent lights, the smell of fried chicken and fresh biscuits. He ordered meatloaf, mashed potatoes, and a slice of apple pie comfort food that reminded him of childhood. Of simpler times, he ate alone. Across the diner, a couple laughed softly, sharing a milkshake with 2 straws. Ryan looked away, annoyed at himself for noticing. That was the moment he reached for his phone again. He typed Claire's name into the search. Her profile picture was gone, not blocked. Just erased. No photos. No updates. No digital trace of the woman who used to share every part of her life with him. It felt intentional. Like a door closing without a sound, Ryan leaned back in the booth, staring at the ceiling, feeling something new crawl into his chest. Fear. He tried calling mutual friends. Most didn't answer. One finally dialed a guy they used to hang out with on weekends. Someone Ryan assumed would know where Claire was. She's good, the guy said carefully. She's focused. Working a lot. You should probably let her be. That sentence hit harder than Ryan expected. Let her be, as if she belonged to herself now. As if Ryan had no claim left that night. Sleep didn't come easy. Ryan lay awake listening to traffic outside, replaying old conversations with a new understanding. Things he brushed off before now sounded different in his head. The nights she waited up. The birthdays he missed. The way she stopped asking and started observing. There was a warning there. He just ignored it. Meanwhile, Claire was building something quiet and deliberate. She woke early, worked long hours, took on extra shifts. She ate simple meals, grilled chicken, vegetables, oatmeal in the mornings. No emotional eating. No dramatic gestures. She didn't post about her pain or announce her freedom. She moved forward without an audience. That discipline was new, and it scared Ryan when he eventually heard about it. Weeks passed. Ryan's career took off. A major client signed on. His name circulated in meetings he wasn't even in. Money came easier now. His phone buzzed with opportunities instead of overdraft alerts. On paper, Ryan was winning, but the victories felt hollow. One Friday evening, after a company celebration at a rooftop bar, Ryan stood overlooking the city lights, holding a glass of whiskey he didn't really want. His coworkers laughed behind him, talking about bonuses and weekend plans. Ryan thought about Claire, about how she used to hate loud bars, how she preferred quiet nights and old movies and homemade dinners, how she always said success meant nothing if you couldn't share it with someone who mattered at the time. He thought that sounded naive. Now, it sounded like wisdom. Ryan took out his phone again and typed the words that had been forming in his head for weeks. I lost her once. Now, she'll regret it forever. He didn't send it to anyone. He didn't post it. He just stared at it, convincing himself it was true. Convincing himself that when she saw how far he'd come, how much he'd achieved, she would feel the loss. That thought became fuel. It hardened him. Ryan stopped questioning himself. He buried regret under ambition. He told himself that loyalty was optional and timing was everything. He decided the story wasn't about love lost. It was about transformation, about proving something. What he didn't know was that Claire was no longer measuring her life against his, and when two people stopped playing the same game, The outcome always surprises the one still keeping score. Ryan didn't expect to see her that night. The invitation had come last minute. Charity networking event hosted in a renovated warehouse downtown. Exposed brick walls, soft lighting, catered food laid out on long tables, steak sliders, shrimp skewers, sparkling water in glass bottles. The kind of place where people talked about purpose while quietly measuring each other's worth. Ryan almost didn't go. He was tired. The week had drained him. But something pushed him out the door, the same restlessness that had been following him since Claire left. He arrived late as he stepped inside. Laughter echoed through the room. Familiar faces nodded at him, offering congratulations, praise, recognition. Ryan smiled automatically, shaking hands. Slipping back into the role he'd perfected. Then he saw her. Claire stood near the far wall, talking to a small group. She wore a simple navy dress. Nothing flashy. Nothing designed to impress. Her hair was pulled back, her posture calm, confident. She wasn't scanning the room. She wasn't looking for anyone. She looked settled. Ryan's breath caught in his throat. For a moment, the noise around him faded. He remembered another version of her barefoot in their old apartment, wearing one of his shirts, laughing while flipping pancakes on a Sunday morning. That memory hit hard and fast. This woman wasn't that girl anymore. Claire laughed at something someone said. A quiet laugh, controlled. It wasn't the laugh she used to have with him. That one was gone. Ryan felt an urge rise in his chest, a need to be seen. To matter again, he walked toward her. Claire noticed him just before he reached the group. Her eyes met his. There was no shock, no tension. Just recognition, like seeing a former coworker. Hey, Ryan said, forcing a casual tone. Didn't expect to see you here. Hi, Ryan, Claire replied. Her voice was polite, neutral. Yeah, I work with one of the sponsors. That sentence landed heavier than he expected. Work. Sponsors. Growth. Ryan nodded, unsure what to say next. He waited for something: anger, accusation, emotion. It didn't come. You look good, he said finally. Thanks, she replied. You too. 2 sentences. Nothing more. The silence stretched. Ryan searched her face for cracks, for signs of regret, for proof that he still mattered the way he wanted to believe. He found none. I've been busy, Ryan added too quickly. Things have been going well, I heard Claire said. That's great. That was it. No bitterness. No jealousy. No questions. Someone touched Claire's arm, calling her name. She turned slightly toward them, then back to Ryan. It was nice seeing you, she said. Take care. And just like that, she stepped away. Ryan stood there, frozen, surrounded by people who suddenly felt like strangers. The conversation around him resumed, but his mind stayed stuck on that brief exchange. She didn't ask about his life. She didn't ask why things ended. She didn't ask for closure. That hurt more than any argument they ever had. Later that night, Ryan sat alone at the bar inside the venue, staring at a glass of water he hadn't touched. The bartender glanced at him but said nothing. Ryan replayed the moment again and again. The way Claire didn't lean in, the way she didn't hesitate, the way she walked away without looking back. For the first time, Ryan felt small. Not because he lacked success, but because it hadn't changed what he thought it would. Across town, Claire sat in a rideshare heading home, watching city lights blur past the window. Her heart was steady. Seeing Ryan hadn't undone her progress. It confirmed it. She thought about the nights she waited, the excuses she accepted, the version of herself she almost lost trying to hold on to someone who didn't know how to hold her back. She wasn't angry anymore. She was free. Ryan, on the other hand, couldn't sleep that night. He opened his laptop, scrolling through old photos he never deleted, trips they took, dinners they shared, moments he didn't appreciate when they happened. He stopped at one picture: Claire sitting on the couch, smiling softly, looking directly at him. The timestamp was years ago. Ryan closed the laptop, jaw tight. That night, something inside him shifted. The thought that once motivated him, she regret losing me, started to crack. And in that crack, a new fear grew. What if she never does? What if the only regret left in this story is his? After that night, Ryan couldn't focus. He tried to drown the feeling the same way he always had. Work harder, talk louder, move faster. But the image of Claire walking away without hesitation stayed with him. It followed him into meetings. It sat beside him in traffic. It waited for him in the quiet moments when there was nothing left to distract him. Something had changed. Not in her, in him. Ryan started asking questions he should have asked years ago. He reached out to people he hadn't spoken to since the breakup. Not to apologize, at least. That's what he told himself. But to understand what he missed. One conversation led to another. Patterns emerged. Comments he once dismissed now landed with weight. She held you down for a long time, one former coworker said carefully over lunch. Longer than most people would. Ryan laughed it off, but the words stuck. Another friend said it more directly. Man, she waited. You just never showed up. That sentence hit harder than any insult. Meanwhile, Claire's life kept expanding in ways Ryan didn't expect. She wasn't just surviving, she was building. She had partnered with a nonprofit focused on urban housing initiatives. Working closely with city planners and local businesses, her name came up in rooms Ryan wasn't in. People spoke about her with respect, not sympathy. She wasn't hiding, she just wasn't looking back. Ryan found himself doing something he'd never done before, watching from a distance. He followed updates through secondhand conversations. He noticed how often her name appeared without his attached to it. That separation bothered him. One afternoon, Ryan received a call from his younger sister, Emily. They hadn't talked much lately. Life had pulled them in different directions. But her tone was serious. I saw Claire last week, Emily said. Ryan stiffened. Yeah, she seems different, stronger, happier. Ryan exhaled slowly. Good for her. There was a pause. Ryan, Emily continued. Can I be honest? He hesitated, then nodded. Sure, you didn't lose her because you weren't successful, she said. You lost her because you didn't listen. Ryan clenched his jaw. That's not fair, maybe Emily replied. But it's true. After the call ended, Ryan sat at his desk long after the office emptied, staring at city lights through the glass. He thought about the version of himself he'd been protecting for years. The one who believed effort equaled intention. The one who thought love was something you could pause and resume at, convenience. He started to see the cost of that belief. A week later, fate stepped in again. Ryan attended a closed-door meeting with potential investors for a major development project. As introductions went around the room, one name stopped him cold. Claire Shee entered confidently, shaking hands, discussing logistics with ease. This wasn't coincidence. This was alignment. The kind that happens when two lives move forward on different tracks and suddenly intersect again. Only now. The balance of power had shifted. Ryan watched her lead the discussion. She spoke clearly, listened carefully, asked questions that mattered. The room respected her, deferred to her judgment. Ryan barely recognized the woman in front of him. This Claire didn't wait. This Claire decided. When the meeting ended, people gathered their things. Ryan lingered, unsure whether to approach her again. Claire noticed him first. Didn't know you were involved in this project, she said. I wasn't, Ryan admitted. Not until recently. She nodded. Small world. They stood there, surrounded by empty chairs and quiet hums of air conditioning. The moment felt heavier than the last encounter. You've done well, Ryan said, meaning it this time. So have you, Claire replied. Looks like things worked out. That sentence landed deep. Worked out. For who? Ryan hesitated, then spoke before his pride could stop him. Do you ever think about us? He asked. Claire didn't answer right away. She studied him, not unkindly, but honestly. I did, she said. For a long time, Ryan's heart lifted just slightly. And then, he asked. And then I realized thinking about the past was keeping me from the future, she said calmly. I don't live there anymore. She picked up her bag. I hope you find what you're looking for. Ryan, and again, she walked away that night. Ryan sat alone in his apartment, the nicer one now, with better furniture and city views. He poured himself a drink but didn't touch it. He stared at his reflection in the window. The man staring back looked successful, but something vital was missing. Ryan finally understood something painful. Claire didn't leave because she wanted more. She left because she deserved better. And for the first time, the thought that haunted him wasn't revenge. It was realization. Ryan stopped pretending after that. No more convincing himself that time would rewrite the story. No more believing success could stand in for effort. The truth had finally settled in, heavy and unavoidable. He didn't lose Claire because he lacked ambition. He lost her because he thought love would wait forever, and love doesn't. Ryan's professional life kept climbing. Contracts closed. His name appeared in industry articles. People returned his calls faster now. Strangers respected him before they knew him. By every measurable standard, he had won. But at night, when the noise faded, victory tasted empty. He started noticing things he'd never noticed before. The way his apartment echoed when he came home. The way no one texted just to ask if he'd eaten. The way weekends felt longer, instead of comforting. Claire used to fill those spaces, not loudly. Just steadily. One evening, Ryan ran into her again, this time by accident. A neighborhood grocery store near the river, fluorescent lights. Shelves stocked with familiar comfort foods. He was reaching for a box of pasta when he saw her at the end of the aisle. She was comparing brands of bread, Focus.com. Ryan hesitated, then spoke. Hey. Claire turned, surprised, but composed. Hi. This time there was no crowd, or no exit. Just the two of them, and the quiet hum of refrigerators. How have you been? He asked. Good, she said simply. Busy. Same, Ryan replied, then paused. Can we talk? Claire studied him for a moment, then nodded. Sure. They stepped aside near the frozen foods. Ryan felt a tightness in his chest he hadn't felt in years. I owe you an apology, he said. The words felt unfamiliar, but necessary. For a lot of things. Claire didn't interrupt. I thought being driven was enough, Ryan continued. I thought providing later meant I didn't have to show up now. I was wrong. Claire listened, arms relaxed, face neutral. I didn't mean to hurt you, he added, but I know I did. There it was. The truth he avoided for so long. Claire took a breath. I know you didn't mean to, she said, but intention doesn't erase impact. Ryan nodded slowly. I waited, she went on. Not because I was weak, but because I believed in us. And eventually, waiting started to cost me myself. Those words hit deep. I didn't leave to punish you, Claire said. I left because staying was teaching me to accept less than I deserved. Ryan swallowed hard. Is there any chance? She shook her head gently. No, not harsh. Not cruel. Just honest. I don't regret loving you, Claire added. But I don't regret leaving either. They stood there in silence. Ryan felt something crack inside him, not anger. Not jealousy, but clarity. For the first time, he understood the cost of winning too late. I hope you're happy, he said quietly. I am, Claire replied, and I hope you learn from this. She picked up her basket and walked toward the checkout line, leaving Ryan alone with shelves of frozen dinners and a truth he could no longer ignore. That night, Ryan didn't drink. He didn't distract himself. He sat at his kitchen table, staring at the city through the window, replaying everything from the beginning. The first time, he dismissed her. Feelings, the times he chose, work over. Presence. The moments he thought love was guaranteed, he finally saw the pattern. Claire didn't leave suddenly. She left after being unseen for too long. Ryan opened his laptop and typed the sentence that once fueled him. I lost her once. Now, she'll regret it forever. He stared at it for a long time. Then he deleted it. Truth was clearer now. She didn't regret losing him, he regretted losing her. And that realization marked the beginning of something he never expected: growth, not the kind that impresses rooms, the kind that changes a person. Time has a strange way of exposing the truth. Months passed. Ryan's life looked better than ever from the outside. He moved into a higher position at work. His calendar stayed full. His bank account finally reflected the effort he'd poured in for years. People called him successful now without hesitation, but something inside him had slowed down. He stopped chasing noise, stopped measuring himself by applause. He started turning down late nights and unnecessary meetings, not because he was tired, but because he was thinking about patterns, about consequences, about the cost of ignoring what matters. Ryan began mentoring younger coworkers, telling them things no one had told him early enough. He talked about balance, about showing up, about how ambition without presence quietly destroys the very things meant to make success meaningful. Some listened, some didn't. He knew how that went. One evening, while walking through the city after work, Ryan passed the old pizza place on East Mercer Avenue. The neon signs still flickered. The smell of grease still hung in the air. Couples still went in laughing, sharing slices and plans. Ryan stopped. He stood under the same streetlight where he once sat in his car, staring at his phone, convinced silence meant control. Now he understood. Silence means finality. Across town, Claire's life had grown into something steady and intentional. She moved into a brighter apartment, built stronger friendships, traveled when she wanted. She cooked real meals, grilled salmon, roasted vegetables, fresh bread, things that made her feel grounded. She didn't rush into love. She didn't need to. One afternoon, she received an email notification. It was an industry article featuring a major urban development project. Ryan's name was mentioned, so was hers. Separate paragraphs. Separate roles. Claire read it once, then closed the page. No emotion surged. No ache returned. That was how she knew she'd healed. Weeks later, fate crossed their paths one final time. A city-sponsored event near the river. Open space. Clear skies. People gathered to celebrate completed projects. Ryan noticed Claire across the crowd. She noticed him too. This time, neither hesitated. They met halfway. "You look well?" Ryan said. "So do you," Claire replied. They stood side by side, watching the water reflect the city lights. "I used to think the title of my story was about proving something," Ryan said after a moment. "About making someone regret walking away." Claire smiled softly. "And now I realize it was about learning," he said. "About losing something so important that it forces you to become better." Claire nodded. "Sometimes loss is the lesson." Ryan took a breath. "You don't owe me anything. But I wanted you to know losing you changed me. For the better." Claire met his eyes. There was no sadness there, just understanding. "I'm glad," she said. "That's all I ever wanted." They didn't exchange numbers. They didn't promise to stay in touch. They didn't reopen doors meant to stay closed. They said goodbye, and it felt right. Later that night, Ryan sat alone again. But this time, the quiet didn't feel threatening. It felt earned. He opened his laptop and began writing. Not an angry message. Not a declaration. Just a reflection. "I lost her once," he typed, "and I thought success would make her regret it forever." He paused. Then he continued. "But the truth is, losing her forced me to face myself. And that lesson was worth more than anything I gained." Ryan closed the laptop across the city. Claire slept peacefully, her phone untouched, her heart light. She had learned her lesson too, that walking away isn't failure when staying costs. Your worth. The story didn't end with revenge. It ended with growth, with clarity, with the understanding that sometimes the person who thinks they won ends up learning the Hardest lesson of all. And sometimes, the person who walks away doesn't regret a thing. Love isn't proven by words or promises. It's proven by presence, by listening, by showing up before it's too late. Because the most painful regret isn't losing someone. It's realizing you had. The man didn't value them when it mattered most.